What if I told you the real reason your energy feels drained? Your nights are restless, and your confidence as a man has quietly slipped away, has nothing to do with your age. What if I said it isn't locked in your DNA or waiting in some expensive prescription bottle, but hidden in plain sight, in something you've walked past 100 times at your local grocery store? I know that might sound impossible, even ridiculous at first. But after more than 3 decades of sitting across from men, just like you men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, I can promise you this: what you've been told about aging and masculinity is only half the story, and the truth is both shocking and liberating. My name is Dr. Nancy Lynn Snyderman. As a physician who has dedicated her career to men's health, I've watched thousands of men walk into my office with their shoulders slumped and their eyes heavy, whispering words they could barely admit to themselves. Doc. I guess this is just what happens when you get old. They say it with shame, as if life has already passed them by. And every time I hear those words, I see the weight they carry, the quiet grief of believing that their best days are behind them, that intimacy and vitality are only memories. It breaks my heart, because I know they've been sold a lie. You see, the decline you feel isn't some inevitable punishment of growing older. It isn't the candles on your birthday cake stealing your strength. What's happening inside your body is far more specific and far more reversible than anyone has likely told you. But because society whispers that men should stay silent about these struggles, you've probably carried them alone. That's why you've never heard the truth that I've been telling my patients for years: your body isn't broken. It's waiting. Think about the quiet frustrations you may have tried to ignore. Waking up without the firm, reliable strength you once took for granted. Looking at your partner and wanting to feel that spark, only to sense your body isn't answering the way it used to. Lying in bed at night, mind racing sleep, slipping further away, while the thought creeps in, maybe this is who I am now. If any of this sounds familiar, it's because you're not alone. Thousands of men feel it. They just don't talk about it. And yet the common thread I've seen again and again is the same haunting belief that age has closed the door on who they used to be. But here's the truth that changes everything. The issues you're facing, lower energy, weaker performance, restless nights, are not a death sentence written by time. They're the result of two forces inside your body that quietly shift as the decades pass. Blood flow slows and stress hormones rise. It's like a dimmer switch gradually turned down, stealing your vitality drop by drop, until one morning you realize the light isn't there anymore. But just as a switch can be turned back up, your system can be reset. I've watched it happen with my own patients, and I want you to know it can happen for you too. Now let me be clear. I'm not here to sell you another bottle of pills or some magic overnight cure. You've probably tried those already, or at least been tempted late at night by flashy ads promising the impossible. What I'm talking about is simpler, safer, and far more natural. In fact, it's something so ordinary that you might even laugh when you hear it. But when used correctly, it can send a signal through your body that reignites circulation, lowers stress, and reminds your hormones how to work in your favor again. The first time I shared this with a patient, he looked at me as if I was joking. Then a few weeks later, he came back smiling wider than I'd ever seen him. His energy had returned. His sleep was deeper. And yes, his confidence in the bedroom had quietly and powerfully come back. All from one small change performed at the right time of day, with something he already had sitting in his kitchen. So before you resign yourself to believing that this is just the way it is after 60, I want you to pause and consider this. What if everything you thought about aging was only half the story? What if the strength, the confidence, and the spark you thought you'd lost forever were still inside you, simply waiting for the right signal to wake them up again? because in just a moment I'm going to reveal the unlikely key that can do exactly that. You might be wondering if age itself isn't the true thief. Then what exactly is happening inside your body? Why does it feel like one day you simply woke up weaker, less certain of yourself, less alive? The truth is far more precise than most men realize, and once you see it, you'll understand why so many struggle in silence and why so many give up hope too early. Inside, you are systems that have worked tirelessly for decades, carrying you through stress, late nights, heavy meals, endless responsibilities. But with each passing year, those systems don't just wear down, they adapt often in ways that rob you of the very things that once defined your masculinity. Let's start with circulation, because it is the lifeblood of everything. The vessels that carry oxygen-rich blood to your muscles, your heart, and yes, your most intimate parts are some of the smallest and most fragile in your entire body. Imagine the thickness of a single strand of hair that is about the size of the arteries that feed your erections. For years they work without complaint, but every night of poor sleep, every stressful deadline, every indulgent meal, every cigarette from decades past leaves its quiet mark. These tiny vessels begin to stiffen, to narrow, to lose the flexibility they once had. And because they're so small, they are often the very first to show signs of trouble. You don't feel it right away. It doesn't announce itself suddenly. It creeps in drop by drop, year after year, until one morning you notice that the strong, reliable firmness you used to wake up with has grown weaker, softer, or disappeared altogether. But blood flow is only half of the story. The other half is far more insidious because it hides in plain sight, woven into the fabric of modern life stress. You've probably heard of cortisol, the stress hormone. In short bursts, cortisol is essential. It wakes you up in the morning, helps you stay alert in a crisis, keeps you sharp when you need to perform. But when cortisol stays high for too long, when decades of worry about bills, careers, family obligations, even the small frustrations of daily life accumulate, it doesn't just keep you on edge, it sabotages your entire system. Cortisol and testosterone are natural enemies. As cortisol rises, testosterone falls. And testosterone, as you know, is not just about intimacy, it's about energy, confidence, motivation, and that unmistakable spark that makes you feel alive. I once had a patient in his early 70s, a retired engineer. He came into my office with his shoulders slumped, his voice barely above a whisper. "Doctor," he said, "I don't even recognize myself anymore. I don't have the drive to get out of bed, let alone connect with my wife. I feel like the man she married is gone." His blood work confirmed what I suspected. His testosterone levels were low, but what really stood out was how sky-high his cortisol had become. His body was trapped in stress mode, his nervous system locked in a constant fight-or-flight state. No wonder he felt lifeless. His system was literally suffocating his vitality. This is the cruel paradox most men never hear. Erections are not only about blood flow, though that's vital. They are also about the signals your body sends when it feels calm, safe, and hormonally balanced. If your system is flooded with cortisol, it doesn't matter how much you desire intimacy, your nervous system will not allow it. It will block the response, as if your own body has turned against you. That is why so many men feel frustrated, invisible, or even broken. They try to will themselves into performance, but willpower cannot overpower biology. And yet, here is the glimmer of hope I have seen time and again. When you bring cortisol back down naturally, testosterone doesn't just stabilize, it rises. The engineer I mentioned. Within weeks of lowering his cortisol, his sleep deepened. His mornings grew brighter, and his erections returned with a strength that surprised even him. His wife came to his follow-up appointment, with tears in her eyes, smiling in a way that spoke louder than words. That is the kind of transformation that reminds me why I do this work, because no man deserves to believe that he is finished when his body still remembers exactly what to do. The truth is, the battle after 60 is not simply against age. It is a two-front war, slowed circulation on one side, rising stress hormones on the other. Ignore one and the other will keep you from ever feeling whole again. You may open your blood vessels, but if cortisol is strangling your testosterone, you will still feel half alive. You may reduce stress, but if your arteries remain rigid and narrow, you will never regain the strength you once had. Both must be addressed together, and when they are, the results are nothing short of life-changing. So if you've felt yourself slipping, if you've noticed the spark fading, the mornings growing dim, the laughter less frequent, it's not because you're too old. It's because circulation and hormones have quietly teamed up against you. And here is the part that should ignite your curiosity. Your body is not broken, and these changes are not permanent. The signal to restore balance can come from a source so simple, so ordinary, that you may have overlooked it for years. And in just a moment, I'm going to reveal exactly what that signal is. And this is where the story takes its unexpected turn, the part that makes so many men raise their eyebrows when they first hear it. After years of searching for answers in prescriptions, supplements, and even invasive procedures, the truth I discovered wasn't hiding in some high-tech laboratory. It wasn't in a miracle drug or a secret gene therapy. It was right there, sitting quietly in the kitchen cabinet, overlooked and forgotten, even though it had been within reach all along. That answer, gentlemen, is clove, the tiny dried flower bud you may remember from holiday recipes or tucked into a jar in your grandmother's pantry. I know how strange that must sound. Something so small, so ordinary, couldn't possibly hold the power to unlock what decades of stress and slowing circulation have taken away. Yet science and tradition agree, hidden within this humble spice is one of the most potent natural gifts for men over 60. Inside, every clove is a compound called eugenol, the very substance that gives clove its warm, distinctive aroma. But eugenol is more than just flavor. It acts as a natural circulatory booster, gently relaxing and widening your blood vessels so oxygen-rich blood can flow more freely, not just to your heart and brain, but also to the most intimate parts of your body that have been quietly starved of vitality for years. Imagine those tiny hair-width arteries I described earlier. Clove helps reopen those pathways, letting life rush back into places you thought were lost. But circulation is only half the battle, remember. That silent thief cortisol has been sabotaging your testosterone for decades, leaving you weary and detached. And here is where clove becomes even more remarkable. Alongside eugenol, it carries another compound, beta-caryophyllene. This natural agent interacts with your body's endocannabinoid system, the same system that regulates stress and calm. The result is a gentle but powerful reduction in cortisol, which means your nervous system can finally step out of constant battle mode. It tells your body you are safe now, you can relax, you can allow testosterone to rise again. That's the moment when your system remembers how to respond like it once did. I've seen the change with my own patients. Men who believed their best years were long gone came back to me weeks later with a spark in their eyes, sometimes laughing at themselves, sometimes holding back tears. One man in his late 60s told me, "Doctor, I don't know what kind of magic you handed me, but I feel like my body woke up after years of silence." His wife noticed it too. She told me he laughed differently, that he carried himself with a pride she hadn't seen in decades. And all he had done was take something he already had in his spice drawer and use it in a new, intentional way. It might be tempting to dismiss this as too simple, too easy. We live in a world where solutions are expected to be complicated, expensive, wrapped in medical jargon, or hidden in pharmaceuticals. But nature often works differently. Sometimes the answer really is simple, and the only reason we don't see it is because we assume complexity is the only path forward. Clove has been used for centuries in traditional remedies, not just for flavor, but for vitality, warmth, and balance. Modern science has simply confirmed what ancient cultures knew instinctively: this little bud carries real power. I don't tell you this to suggest it is a miracle cure, or that chewing on a spice will turn back time overnight. That kind of thinking has left too many men disappointed already. What I'm saying is that when clove is used correctly at the right time of day, it becomes a natural signal to your body. A signal to open blood vessels, to calm the storm of cortisol, to let testosterone breathe again. It's not about tricking your system, it's about reminding it of what it already knows how to do. And here's the beauty: you don't need to buy expensive extracts, gimmicky powders, or capsules that promise more than they deliver. The most effective form is the simplest whole dried cloves, the way nature intended. That is what I teach my patients, and that is what I want to share with you. Because the power doesn't come from swallowing another pill, it comes from letting your body absorb the oils directly, quickly, efficiently, in a way that activates change almost immediately. This, gentlemen, is why I said earlier that your body isn't broken. It isn't finished. It's waiting for the right signal. And clove, this tiny overlooked spice, can be that signal. In just a moment, I'll show you exactly how to use it in a simple 60-second ritual that requires no equipment, no complicated instructions, and no costly treatments. Just a minute of your time, a few whole cloves, and the willingness to believe that vitality can still be yours. Because once you know how to unlock its power, you'll begin to feel changes you thought were gone forever. And that's where our journey continues into the exact steps of the ritual that has already transformed the lives of men well into their 70s and 80s. So how do you take this little spice sitting quietly in your kitchen and turn it into the key that reignites your energy, your confidence, and your sense of self? The answer is not complicated. In fact, it is disarmingly simple. After years of watching men chase pills, powders, and elaborate routines, I can tell you that the most effective way to use clove is also the most natural. You don't need expensive extracts or fancy capsules. You need only the whole dried bud itself, a quiet moment, and the willingness to follow through. That's it. And when done correctly, in less than 60 seconds, you can set in motion a cascade of changes that ripple through your body. Here's how I teach my patients. Take 2 or 3 whole cloves, just as they are tiny brown flower buds with their stems still attached. Place them gently between your teeth. As you bite down, you'll hear that faint crack, the signal that the oils are being released. But this is where most men get it wrong. Don't rush to chew them like candy. For the first 30 seconds, let the warmth of the oils seep into your saliva, let them wash over your gums and the soft tissues of your cheeks. Why? Because the lining of your mouth is one of the fastest gateways into your bloodstream. Unlike pills that must travel through the stomach and be broken down slowly, the compounds in clove slip directly into circulation, moving almost instantly to open your vessels and calm your nervous system. After that first half-minute of stillness, then and only then begin to chew slowly. Let the sharp, spicy taste spread fully across your tongue. Some men describe it as warm, others as fiery. But almost everyone feels that unmistakable rush, as though something deep inside has flickered awake. Keep chewing for another 30 seconds, letting every drop of oil mingle with your saliva before swallowing. By the time a minute has passed, the eugenol and beta-caryophyllin are already coursing through your blood, sending the signal your body has been waiting for: relax, open, restore. Whether you swallow the remaining bits or spit them out doesn't matter. The message has already been delivered. But this is more than just a physical act. There's a deeper meaning in this tiny ritual. That single minute before bed, or at the start of your day, or before an intimate moment, becomes a signal to your body. And to your mind, the struggle is over, you are safe. It is time to renew. I've had men tell me they feel calmer even before the oils take full effect because they know they are finally taking back control. In that quiet pause as the clove's warmth fills your mouth, you're not just chewing a spice, you are telling your nervous system it can stand down, telling your circulation it's time to flow again, telling your hormones it's safe to rise. And timing, as I've learned from decades of practice, is everything. If you chew cloves at random right after a heavy meal, or without regard to your body's rhythm, you may miss their full potential. But if you do it at the right moment, the results are amplified. There are 3 windows I recommend to every man. The first, and most powerful, is about an hour before bed. This is when your body is naturally shifting into recovery mode, when blood pressure dips and the nervous system prepares for rest. Introducing clove at this moment primes your system for deep sleep-balanced hormones and strong morning performance. Countless men have come back to me saying, "Doctor, I haven't slept like that in years, and I woke up with a firmness I thought was gone forever." The second golden window is first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Your body has been fasting through the night, your system is open and ready to absorb. Chewing cloves then is like a spark to dry, kindling. It floods your brain and body with fresh circulation, sharpens your focus, and sets the tone for the entire day. Men often tell me they feel more alert, more engaged, and yes, more alive from that single act. Some even report that their natural responses return during the day without them forcing it, as if their body remembers what to do. The third window is before activity, whether that's a workout or intimacy with your partner. 15 to 20 minutes before, let the oils do their work. By the time you begin moving, your blood vessels are open, your stress hormones subdued, your confidence humming in the background. I remember one patient in his late 60s who danced with his wife every Friday night. He began chewing cloves before their evenings out. When he returned to me, he said with a grin, "Doctor, my feet felt lighter, my body stronger, and let's just say the dancing didn't stop when the music did." Think about what that means. In just 60 seconds, with nothing more than a spice you already own, you can align with your body's natural rhythms in a way no synthetic pill can match. You are not forcing your system into submission. You are reminding it how to function as it was designed. And with each night you perform this ritual, you are carving out a space for renewal, a pause that says, "Today is done. Tomorrow will be stronger. I am not finished yet." Some men laugh when they first hear this. A spice, a minute. It seems too easy, too small. But then they try it, and the laughter gives way to amazement, because what they feel is real. A warmth in the chest, a peace in the mind, a steadiness in the morning. And behind it all, a growing confidence that maybe the story of their vitality isn't over. This is why I insist the ritual matters. Not just the spice, but the moment you take to let it work. Because in that moment, you are reclaiming control. And once you've tasted that control, even in something as small as a 60-second act, you begin to wonder what else is possible. That's the beauty of this practice. It isn't just about blood flow or hormones, it's about rewriting the story you tell yourself about who you are. And the first chapter of that story begins with a single clove chewed with intention at exactly the right time. The question every man asks me sooner or later is, how long will it take before I feel something? And my answer is always the same. This isn't a magic pill that tricks your body for a night and leaves you emptier the next morning. This is restoration, a natural reawakening. It works with your body, not against it. And because of that, the changes don't strike like lightning, they unfold like dawn, steady, deliberate, undeniable. When you give yourself 30 days, you don't just notice little shifts. You witness a rebirth week by week until one day you realize you are standing taller, laughing louder, and moving through life with a confidence you thought was gone forever. In the first week, most men describe the changes as subtle, almost like whispers. It begins with sleep. Instead of tossing and turning, you find yourself sinking deeper, waking up less often, feeling rested in a way you haven't in years. Some notice a lightness in the chest, as if the tight band that had been squeezing them for so long has finally loosened. Others feel a faint warmth in their lower body, a tingling that hints at circulation returning to places it had quietly abandoned. Many men tell me, "Doctor, I don't know why, but I just feel calmer." That's cortisol easing its grip, your nervous system finally allowed to breathe. It's not yet something you'll brag about, but you know deep down that something inside has shifted. By the second week, the whispers grow louder. Energy returns in ways that are hard to ignore. Mornings feel clearer, brighter. Instead of dragging yourself from bed, you rise with a sense of purpose. Your mood steadies, and you notice that the small frustrations of the day don't rattle you as much. For many, this is also when the first sparks of physical change appear. Stronger morning erections return, not every day, not perfect, but enough to make you stop and think, "Wait, my body remembers." For some, it's not just in the mornings. A glance from your partner, a brush of her hand, stirs something you haven't felt in years. This is not coincidence. This is blood flow opening again, testosterone whispering back to life. By the third week, the changes no longer whisper, they speak. Erections grow firmer, more reliable. Sleep feels restorative instead of exhausting. You begin to notice energy carrying through your day in ways that surprise you. One man in his late 60s told me his wife stopped him in the hallway and said, "You look taller." He laughed, but then realized she was right. His posture had changed. His chest was open, his steps more assured. That's what confidence does. It shows in your body before you even recognize it in your mind. For many men, week 3 is when they start to feel like themselves again, not a shadow, but the man they thought they had lost. By the 4th week, the transformation is undeniable. Erections are not just firm, they last. Intimacy stops feeling like a struggle and becomes a joy again. Energy flows steadily, not in fits and starts. Conversations feel sharper. Laughter comes more easily. Your partner notices, your family notices, but most importantly, you notice. You see it in the mirror, not just in your body, but in your eyes. Pride, presence, vitality. One man in his 70s told me, "Doctor, I don't just feel better, I feel alive. My wife says I smile differently. My kids say I have more energy. I feel like I got myself back." That is the kind of rebirth I've seen again and again when men commit to this ritual. But let me be clear, this isn't about chasing youth or pretending you are 25 again. It's about remembering what your body was designed to do and giving it the signal it has been waiting for. Clove is not a trick, it's a reminder. Each week of this journey is your body relearning how to flow, how to balance, how to stand tall in its own strength. And when you give yourself the gift of 30 days, you don't just restore function. You restore dignity, connection, joy. This is why I tell men to stay consistent. If you stop after a few days, you may miss the breakthrough waiting for you in week 3. If you give up too soon, you'll never see the pride return in week 4. It's the steady rhythm, the nightly ritual that builds the foundation for lasting change. Just 60 seconds every evening, and the patience to let your body do what it knows how to do. Imagine what it will feel like 30 days from now, when you wake up, not only stronger in your body, but lighter in your spirit. Imagine seeing the surprise on your partner's face, hearing her laugh differently, noticing the way she looks at you, as though the man she fell in love with has walked back into the room. Imagine walking into the day with confidence you haven't felt in decades. That is not a fantasy. That is the reality I have watched unfold in men who believed their story was over, only to discover a new chapter waiting to be written. And all of it begins with something so small, so simple, you might have walked past it in the grocery store without a second glance. A single spice, a single minute, and the courage to believe that you are not finished yet. Because when you give your body the chance to remember, it doesn't just heal, it awakens. And in the weeks ahead, as I'll show you that awakening can be amplified even further when you pair this ritual with a few simple habits that act like fuel on the fire, multiplying the results until the transformation is impossible to ignore. And now, as you reach the end of this 30-day journey, there's something even deeper that begins to stir. Because while the changes in your body are powerful, the firmer erections, the steadier energy, the deeper sleep there is another transformation happening quietly inside you, one that is just as important, maybe even more so. It's the return of your confidence, the subtle but undeniable shift in how you carry yourself, how you see yourself, how you step back into the role of the man you were always meant to be. I have seen it so many times. A man comes to me with eyes downcast, his voice heavy, as though life itself has dimmed. He tells me he feels invisible, less than himself, as if the years have taken away not only his vitality, but his identity. Yet after weeks of committing to this ritual, he walks back into my office with shoulders squared, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth, and an energy that fills the room. His wife notices it. His children notice it. Even his friends comment that he seems different. But the most profound change is the one he feels inside. He no longer doubts who he is. He no longer wonders if he is finished. He knows deep in his bones that he still has strength to give, passion to share, and pride to stand tall with. That's why I tell every man I meet, this is not just about circulation or hormones. It's about reclaiming the part of yourself that believed in possibility, the part that met life head-on, that didn't shrink back or apologize for wanting more. Because the truth is, the erosion of confidence can be even more devastating than the loss of function. When you wake up each day believing you are less than you once were, you stop reaching, you stop leading, you stop living fully. But when your body responds again, when the fire is lit once more, it reignites not only your physiology, but your spirit. And here is what makes it extraordinary. You don't need a clinic or a prescription to begin. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars or subject yourself to painful procedures. You need a choice, a single minute, and the belief that you are worth investing in. That minute becomes a ritual, that ritual becomes a habit, and that habit becomes the foundation for a life that feels alive again. I've had men tell me that even more than the physical changes, what shocked them most was the way their mindset shifted. They no longer looked at themselves as old men waiting out the years, but as husbands, partners, fathers, grandfathers, who still had something vital to give. I remember one man in particular, 72 years old, who came to me after just a month of practicing this nightly ritual. He said, "Doctor, I don't just feel stronger. I feel like I've been given myself back." His wife, sitting beside him, nodded with tears in her eyes. "He laughs differently now," she whispered. "He holds my hand again. He looks at me the way he used to." That to me is the miracle. Not just the physical restoration, but the emotional rebirth, the return of connection, intimacy, and joy. Because make no mistake, intimacy is not only about the bedroom. It is about presence. It is about walking into a room and knowing you belong there, about looking at your partner and seeing her light up because she feels your confidence, about meeting your own reflection and recognizing the man staring back at you. That is the gift waiting for you when you embrace this ritual and allow it to work, not just for your body, but for your life. But here is the choice that matters most. Knowledge alone will not change anything. You can nod. You can agree. You can even feel a spark of excitement. But unless you act, nothing will shift. Too many men I've met have listened, nodded, promised themselves they'd start tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. They returned months later, more discouraged, more defeated, and asked me what went wrong. The truth is simple: they hesitated. They didn't take that first step when it mattered most. I don't want that to be your story. Tonight, not next week, not someday. Tonight you can choose differently. Go to your kitchen, take 2 or 3 cloves, and begin. Chew them slowly, breathe deeply, and let your body remember. Do it again tomorrow night and the night after, until it becomes a habit as natural as brushing your teeth. That is how transformation happens. Not in grand gestures, but in small, consistent choices that signal to your body and your mind, I am not finished. I am not broken. I am not too late. Because the real battle isn't with age, it's with that quiet voice in your head telling you to give up, to settle, to accept decline as destiny. That voice is lying to you. The best days are not behind you. They are still waiting if you're willing to take them. With 1 minute, 1 choice, 1 simple spice, you can begin writing a new chapter of strength, connection, and vitality. So as you hear my words, now I want you to remember this moment. The decision you make tonight is not about cloves or rituals. It's about reclaiming your dignity, your confidence, your life. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your partner. And you owe it to the years you still have ahead of you. Because when you look back, you'll see it wasn't the titles, the cars, or the victories that defined you. It was the small choices, the moments no one else saw when you decided to show up for yourself. This is one of those moments. Take the step. Begin the ritual. Believe in your body's ability to restore itself. And the next time you wake up, strong, vibrant, alive, I want you to remember that it didn't come from luck or youth returning. It came from you choosing to act when it mattered most. The choice is yours, and your strength is waiting. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end of this video. Your time and attention mean the world, and I truly hope today's message gave you something valuable to take away. If this content inspired you or spoke to something you've been searching for, please don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with someone who may need it, and leave me a comment below with your thoughts. And of course, subscribe to the channel so you never miss what's coming next.